Well, hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to the Identity Equity Workshop. I'm going to give it just a couple of minutes for people to kind of get in here because I know it's right at that hour. And I do know that, people sometimes need that extra little moment to be able to log in. So, but since this is being recorded, I don't want there just to be dead air here. So that's why I am kind of talking as I maneuver myself around here so that I'll have everything at my fingertips. I'm very excited about tonight because I have no doubt in my mind that there are some things that God has in store for us when we tap into our identity equity. And I'm really, really excited about that. I really am. We invest in so much other than ourselves. We invest in so many people. We invest in stocks and bonds, and we invest in our homes, and we invest in so much, but we neglect so often to invest in ourselves. So that's what tonight is going to be about. It's going to be about us investing in ourselves. So, yeah, we're going to get started. I'm going to give it one more moment just for people to kind of join in. We're broadcasting on 3 different platforms this evening. So if you're on Facebook or if you're on LinkedIn or on YouTube, you have the opportunity to access this, and you'll be able to go back and watch the recordings of anything that you missed. So that being said, we are going to get started because I like to respect people's time. So once again, welcome to the Identity Equity Workshop. And I am your facilitator for this evening. I am Dr. Coylette James. And it is, again, as I said, my honor and my privilege to share all of this with you. So that being said, I like to teach off of slides. So let me get back over here real quick so I can share my screen, and you'll be able to see my slides. Now, I am more familiar with sharing and doing all of these wonderful things on Facebook. But I mean, not Facebook, on Zoom. However, I am going to attempt to do this on StreamYard since this is the platform that I can stream out everything to. All right, so now share screen. Now I just need to pick which screen I want to share, and that's the window. And yay, she did it. She did it. So yeah, I'm excited. Now, so let's get this started. Like I said, tonight we are dealing with identity equity, and we're going to talk about what that means, how to get your ROI from your identity, from who God has created you to be. And that's really, really important because when you stop and you think about how strategic God is in like how he laid out the cosmos and how he just mapped just the cosmos, just think about that, how he mapped out the planets, how he mapped out even our planet Earth to revolve around the sun and to have the moon, and to the gravity pull does not pull us into the sun or into the moon. It keeps us on our axis. It keeps us right where we need to be. And so a God that is that strategic, when you think about it, wow, think about what he crafted in you to make you be who you are. All right. So when we think about identity equity, it is the value created when a person knows, embraces, and leads from their authentic identity. Okay. And I got a couple of typos on my slide, so forgive me, but that's okay. We get it, right? It's the value created when a person knows and embraces and leads from their authentic identity. That is really, really important to understand. The greatest asset you will ever steward is the person making every decision in your life. And that person is you. That person is you. So you need to recognize and understand that, you have to steward you in a manner in which brings glory and honor, not just to you, but to God. So identity equity is not the same as confidence. We walk around and we feel like, we're very confident in who we are, but confidence is just a feeling. That's all it is. Identity equity, it's a working knowledge of who you are, and it's applied to your real decisions. Okay? You apply it to your real decisions in life, which also translates to your leadership. So if you lead from that place of knowing who you are, then it makes how you lead totally different. Totally different. You have a completely different understanding of your leadership when you're authentic in who God created you to be. So in one word, I want you to participate. This is going to be participation tonight, all right? So in one word, what do you believe is your greatest strength? I can't believe my slides did double takes on here. That's what I get for not checking the slides, right? Okay. Anyway, in one word, and put this in the chat, no matter what platform you're on, put it in the chat. One word, what do you believe is your greatest strength? Okay. Many of us can name a strength, but few have a framework for understanding how that strength creates value. All right. You need to understand how knowing your greatest strength creates value. So, again, one word, put it in the chat. What do you believe is your greatest strength? All right. So now we're going to look at this with identity and leadership and how the two come together. All right. And there's 5 different domains, basically, that identity and leadership cohabit together. Okay. So this is how identity shapes decisions, leadership, relationships, business, and purpose. Okay. Decisions. Number 1. Identity is the filter you decide through, not just the facts in front of you, but how does your decision affect who you are? Does it communicate the value that you possess and that you hold within inside yourself? Does it communicate the value that God has placed on your life? You see, when we don't include our authenticity in the decisions we make, the decisions can be skewed. All right. This is why we're told not to make decisions in a moment of emotion. All right, because our emotions can lie to us about our identity. Yes, 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 and yes. Your emotions can lie to you about your identity because when you are angry, you will react to situations. You will react to situations in a manner that may be contrary to your identity. Now, example, maybe you're laid back, easygoing, and you're cool, and all is well in the world according to you. Okay. But then somebody comes into your space and they make you angry. They make you angry. And suddenly that calm, peaceful demeanor does a okay. And now you're yelling, maybe cursing, you may even be violent. All right. In that moment, you've heard the term temporary insanity. I've experienced those moments of temporary insanity to where somebody pushed my button to a point where I was not cognizant of my actions at that moment. Now, retrospect, I can sit back and I think back and I was like, oh, dang, like, what was that? Right? But it was not me acting out in my authenticity. I made a decision at that moment in the height of my emotion that could have cost me. I'm sure each and every one of you can relate to that. It goes both ways. You can be in the motion of or emotion of euphoria. Oh, I am so happy and everything is so good. And somebody asks you something and you say, of course, and yes, and you never think it through. Because right now they found you in your happy place. And so all is well. And yes, you can have whatever you want. And then in hindsight, you gave somebody power over your life that should have never been in that place. Why? Because in a moment of your euphoria, you made a decision. When you are walking and you're operating in your authenticity, in that place of identity that God brought you to, that God crafted you. Let me get this straight. That place where God crafted you for your purpose. For your purpose. See, I say this all the time that your uniqueness is your superpower because your uniqueness holds your identity. And when God created you, He created your identity to flow with your purpose. Your purpose in life will always remain the same. Your assignments that He will give you to carry out according to that purpose, those are subject to change. In fact, not subject to, those will change as you grow, as you go, as you grow, as you mature, and as you complete assignments. Those things will change. The assignments will change, but your purpose for being here. Remember what Mordecai said to Esther? Who knows? Maybe you're in the palace for such a time as this. Part of her purpose was tied up to her being queen. She didn't even know it. And not only was it her purpose to be queen, it was her purpose to save her people. It was part of her identity. The beauty she possessed, her way of handling the king was part of her identity. And it was crafted specifically for her purpose. I was sharing with someone recently, and they have this beautiful little girl, and she's the baby of the family. They have 3 children, and she's the baby. And ooh, she's a handful. But you can see the call of God on that child's life, even now, because she's called to be a prophet. So she's bold. She's not disrespectful, but she's bold, even at a small age. I think maybe she's 3 or 4 right now. She knows no fear. She knows no fear. She just goes. She does. But it's part of her identity. And like I said, at least I can see the calling of God on her life. Some of your children, you are trying to change their identity to fit into a mold that you want to place them in. And it is not the mold that God called them to. I want you to take some thought about this and stop trying to change the identity that God has given them. Now, I'm not talking about the crazy of not knowing if you're a man or a woman, because, yeah, we know how you were born and yeah, that's your identity. But anyway, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. My point is that your uniqueness, your identifying traits are part of the purpose for which he created you. So you want to make decisions that are authentic and that align again with the core value of who you were created to be. Number 2 is leadership. People follow identity before they follow strategy. People follow identity before they follow strategy. They identify with who you are, and it draws them to you. And once they're drawn to you, now they can embrace your strategies for getting the job done, your strategies for helping them to become better. Because that's always going to be part of your purpose, to help people become better, to influence your sphere of influence, the people that God has called you, and help them to get better. Relationships. Unresolved identity shows up as people pleasing or isolating. Okay? Both are signals, not flaws, but they're signals. You will either you're called to people and you love people, or you take on the identity of being a people pleaser, which is different than being called to people. Okay? Or you may take on an identity of isolation. Both are signals. You call to people, but if you're a people pleaser or you isolate yourself from people, those are signals, not flaws, but signals that you need to get back in touch with who God created you to be. Because he never created you to be an island, to be all alone and not to influence the life of others. There's always going to be people tied to you, and not to be yes people, not to be a yes man, not to be a yes woman, but to be a truthful and authentic person in love. In love. Make sure you remember that in love part, okay? Because we can be truth bearers, but we don't always bear truth in love. Always make sure you're coming from that place of love, because that's what God does for you. And then there's business. Strategy mirrors internal clarity or confusion. When you know who you are, you're going to either be clear, or if you don't know who you are, you're going to be confused. There's no in between. There's no in between. Business stalls from identity problems, not just market ones. Okay, your business, what you have been called to steward, has been placed in your hand. If it's a call from God for you to do it, it's been placed in your hand, because it aligns with who he created you to be. It will align with your identity. And then purpose. Purpose is discovered, not invented. Visible in how you show up when no one is watching. Visible in how you show up when no one is watching. This is how your identity will tie into how you lead. Okay, so there's 2 ways to lead. There's performance led, which you lead from your title. You've got the name on the door. You've got the corner office. Okay. Measures worth by output. This is performance led. All right. Chases approval and metrics. You just want the accolades based on the title you have. Or it depletes over time, not or, but it does. When you're performance led, it will deplete over time, because it will wear you out. It is just too much energy that is called for you to put into what is going on around you. It's just as draining. But identity led, all right, leads from truth. It leads from the truth of who God created you to be and what he called you to. See, your identity is tied to what he's called you to. So then you're leading from that place of truth. It measures worth by alignments. Are you aligned with God? It will always come back to, are you aligned with God? Because once you align yourself with the Lord, you're going to align yourself with who He created you to be. Now, there may be some of you, and you may be in here, and you're not a quote unquote believer. Maybe you feel like, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in all of this identity based on how I was created. But let me say something to you. Okay. Now, first and foremost, I am a woman of faith, obviously, and I'm sure you've already picked up on that. Okay. I don't believe that you are here by accident or circumstance. I don't believe that you are here just because mommy and daddy wanted to have some fun. I believe that you were strategically created. And when you start to look at yourself as having purpose for your existence, it's going to take you back to, how'd you get here? Because again, it wasn't just about mommy and daddy. You were uniquely designed to be here at this appointed time in eternity. This is your appointed time for your existence. And that existence came about from a creator. Everything that exists started from the mind of a creator. The chair I'm sitting in, somebody had a mindset to create this chair, and so they created it. The computer or the phone that you may be witnessing me on, somebody had a mind to create it, and so they did. The car you drive was created. The house you live in was created. It was built. It started from somewhere. Now, if all of these things around you had a beginning and a creation, why do you feel that you're here without a beginning or a creation? Think about that. Just kind of ponder on that for a moment, all right? I'm going to leave that with you, but just think about it, all right? Identity-led leadership, when you are led from that place of knowing who you are, and it's predicated on knowing whose you are, who was your creator, because it was in the mind of the creator what the creation was created for, okay? You operate from purpose and clarity. You operate from that place of knowing I am not an accident. I'm not just here by circumstance. I'm here on purpose for purpose. And again, that will dictate how you lead others. Now, you may say, I'm not a leader. Oh, yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. And guess what? The first person is that you need to lead. You. You need to lead yourself in who you are. So that's why it's important for you to tap in and find out who you are. Okay? So you can have clarity. There's so many people running around trying to figure out their purpose. And if you would just take a moment to go back to creation, who created you? Tap into that and ask, why am I here? Simple question. There was a creator. Ask the creator, because it is in the mind of the creator what the creation was made for. And until you tap into that, you will misappropriate the creation. You will misuse and abuse the creation when you don't know the purpose of it. I'm use this chair again. I'm sitting in this chair. It's a very comfortable chair. I love my chair, okay? And it was created to house me, or to hold me, I should say, for sitting. Now, if I get out of the chair and I stand in the chair, which is not the purpose of the chair, we do it all the time, but it's not the purpose of the chair, and I fall out the chair because the chair is unstable and it was never meant for me to stand in, it's not the chair's fault. It's not the chair's fault I fell. It would be my fault. Why? Because I misused the chair. Chair was never built for me to stand in. It was built for me to sit in, which gives it stability and gives me stability. Hope this is making sense to you. Hope it's clicking. And then your identity led leadership appreciates over time. It won't wear you out. It won't wear you out. Why won't it wear you out? It won't wear you out because you're operating in your authenticity. So there's a flow. There's not the drain, there's a flow. There's a flow. So I want to help you tap in to that identity. So another participation for you. I told you this is going to be audience participation. So I want engagement from you. When people consistently come to you, what do they usually come to you for? And I want y'all wait, take a minute here because I took my teaching notes. I just want to jump in here right quick for this, right? Because as I'm going through this, and this is the first time this has ever happened to me. So I tell one of my GPTs to create my slideshow for me and I give it my notes and normally it comes out just perfectly. And so I've gotten comfortable in it coming out perfectly. And this time it did not come out perfectly. It is doing double duty on my words. So little tidbit in the midst of this, because I'm that one. I'm gonna be straightforward and honest with you. Little tidbit, always check your stuff, right? Don't just depend on quote unquote AI. I was just like, I'm in a hurry. It's been a busy day and I need some slides. And yeah, so I'm just throwing that out there because I know you guys are going like, what is wrong with these slides? But anyway, so yeah, that was what happened. But I can do that. I can tell you and be transparent because it's part of my identity. It's just who I am. All right. So again, when people consistently come to you, what do they usually come to you for? Put that in the chat. Put it in the chat. I'm very, very curious as to what it is that they do that. Let's see. Pull it up so I can see because I am sharing right now and I am not seeing your comments. So I'm just curious as to what some of them. Okay. All right. Personable. Okay. That's your strength, I'm sure. But it's so important that we stay tapped into how God is using you. Because that's exactly what that will be a reflective of. Advice, that's good. Because God has used you to be the answer to what somebody needs. To be the answer. I love that. I love that. I remember that there was a time when I complained because people always came to me asking me questions. And I was just like, especially when I'm working, because I can get zoned in and I'm working and I'm doing what I'm doing, right? And I'm zoned into it. And people will just come in my office and just sit down. And I'm like, okay. And I ask questions. And I complained about it a couple of times to God, like, why? And what was really funny was these were people that I knew really didn't care for me. But like, why do you keep coming to me for advice? And what God said to me was, I created you to have the answer. So that's why they're coming to you to ask the questions because I downloaded and deposited in you the answer. I stopped complaining because it was part of my identity. See, this is what tapping into your identity will help you to do. It'll help you understand your purpose. It'll help you to understand the calling on your life. What has he called you to do? And like I said, your purpose will remain the same. The assignments will change. You may be in one sphere of employment today, and a year from now, be doing something totally different. Or your business may make a pivot. And it's like, I thought this was what I was supposed to do. But if you stay connected to your creator, when you stay connected to God, he can pivot you in any way he deems appropriate, any way he wants to. So that's how your assignments change. The purpose remains the same. Okay. The patterns in your life often reveal your assignment before your title does. This is why I want you to stop and think about, why are people coming? Now this is really interesting to me, because as I was growing up, I didn't think I had any gifts and talents. And I just had this conversation with my grandchildren, because one of them, we're doing family night now once a week to talk about identity, so that I'm helping them to hone into theirs. Now they're grown. I got great grands, but they're grown, but it's helping them. And one of my granddaughters said, I don't feel I have any gifts and talents. And I was like, I got you, girl. I got you. Why? Because I didn't feel like I had any either. But just like the person said in the chat, that people come to her for advice, people were always coming to me for advice. And I was always that loner. I didn't hang with a crowd, because crowds were messy and I ain't do mess. But I had no idea that that was part of my gifting and my talent, to be able to take a situation, download it, and analyze it and spit out the answer for it. Kind of like a computer. Had no idea that that was part of my gifts. So you never know what God has planted in you until you start walking in your true identity. Okay. So I want to talk to you a little bit, and this is just a preview of something that I have coming out very, very soon, and it's called the Identity Blueprint. We're going to talk about a challenge that I have coming up in 11 days or 10 days now. Okay, it's the 11th through the 13th. But part of that challenge, I'm going to introduce an intellectual property that is an identity blueprint. It will absolutely help you. It's an app that you can actually answer questions within, and it can analyze and help you with your identity. You are the one that's got to tap into your identity, but it can help point out some of your strengths that align itself with your identity. So this is just a little preview of it, of 4 of the dimensions. It's got multiple, but these are 4 of it. Self-awareness, knowing who you are beneath your role. Okay. Are you title shaped or truth shaped? It'll help you figure that out. Because again, you may have the big corner office, you may have the title. Okay. I have the title of doctor because I went to school and got a doctorate degree in divinity. I put in the time so I could have that title. But that title does not define me. I'm defined by who God created me to be. That was just part of the progress that he took me to make sure that I was well versed in what it was that I was sharing on his behalf. Okay. So you need to know, are you title shaped or truth shaped? Alignment. Living in agreement with your true identity. If you're misaligned, misalignment is felt as fatigue before it's named. You will be exhausted when you are not aligned with your true identity. Because think about it, you're exerting extra energy performing things that you were never called to do. That goes back to those decisions that you made because you had not tapped into the identity for which you were truly created. Assignment, discovering the work only you can do. All right. It's distinct from your job description. It is something that only you can do. I say this, and this is the honest to God truth. Nobody, and I mean nobody on the planet can beat you being you. Nobody. Why? Because they weren't created to be you. They were not created with what God specifically placed in you for his use. For his use. So yes, you are of a great value. But to really, really understand the value of who you are, you got to understand who you are. That's your identity. And then authority, leading from conviction, not permission. Internal permission to lead is unvalidated. Internal permission to lead is unvalidated if you don't have the authority to do what you do. And that authority comes from your authenticity on why you were created, which aligns with your purpose. One of the things that I love about the Word of God, number one, is because you can apply it to your life literally, and we miss that. We spiritualize it. We want to think of it as symbolic and symbolism and all of that. But there is such a deep truth within it. And that truth, if you go, I believe it's Luke 10, if you go there and you hear the conversation between Jesus and his disciples, where he asked them, who do men say that I am? Identity. Who do men say that I am? And they started saying, oh, well, some say you are John the Baptist, reincarnated, you are Elijah. You know, they had these answers for him. And then he made it personal. After they threw out their little answers, then he made it personal. Who do you say that I am? So first, it was the generalizing. Who do men say that I am? You got people out there that they're saying all kind of things about you. They are putting you in all kind of buckets, right? Because they haven't been in close proximity to you to really know who you are. And one thing about people is if they don't know, they will make it up. And they will make it up as they go. So stop letting what people are calling you and how people are identifying you rule and reign your life. Stop. This is why we don't ask people for permission to be who God created us to be. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out. As the word continued and he said, who do you say that I am? Peter stepped up and Peter said, thou art the Christ. Thou art the Son of God. Because Peter has proximity to Jesus. He knew from observation, from walking with him, from sitting with him, from communing with him. He knew who he was. He identified who he was. And Jesus said, because we say, we see it differently. We see it really skewed, I guess I should say. Upon this rock, thou art Peter, Petra, and upon this rock, I will build my ecclesia. So now there's two words there that we mistransform. Okay. Thou art Peter. Yep, you are. Simon Peter. That's who you are. Okay. I'm identifying who you are. That's Christ. I'm identifying this is who you are. You identified who I am. I'm going to identify who you are. Flesh and blood has not revealed that to you. But my Father in heaven has revealed that to you. Now, number one, he identified who Peter was and told him who he was. We mess up because we think that he was saying upon Peter, he would build his church. No. Upon the knowledge that Peter had of who he was. And he didn't say he would build his church. He said he would build his ecclesia. His ecclesia, his governing body in this earth realm. Upon the knowledge of knowing exactly who I am, I will build my governing body. Why is that important? Because right after that, he gave them power and authority. You got to know who he is so that you can identify that he has the authority and the power to give you power and authority. If you don't relate to who he is, okay, then how are you relating to the power and the authority that he's given you? I can tell you all day long, go out there and write somebody a speeding ticket. But if you're not a police officer who caught that person speeding and has the power and the authority to write a speeding ticket, what are you doing? Because I don't have the power or the authority to give you for you to go do that. He needed to make sure that we understood that if we stay in proximity with him, if we get to know him, we understand the power and the authority that he possesses, then we will understand the power and the authority that he gives to us, which will translate in how we handle and identify who he created us to be. Yeah. It's deep and simplistic all at the same time. He had the power and the authority as being the Christ, the Messiah, the Son of God, to give us power and authority, which is wrapped up in our true identity. So see, we can't rule and reign as the ecclesia, his governmental body in this earth realm, called to bring order. I was at a function earlier today and I was sitting at the table and I was listening to the conversations going on all around me. And I was really, really quiet. And my little sister goes, "What's on your mind?" I was like, "Nothing. I'm just thinking about what I got to do this evening." But I'm listening to the conversations and I'm thinking that these are quote unquote church people who are speaking based on worldly thoughts rather than on being the ecclesia of God. And it's our purpose, our duty to bring order, not just to agree with everything that the world is out here doing or saying. And when you get caught up in these dialogues and these debates, you're not operating in the role for which you were created as God's governmental body in this earth realm. We got to get it together. We got to do better. But we first have to understand who we are. If we don't understand that we were created in the image and likeness of God to what? Be fruitful, multiply, subdue, and take dominion as his governmental body in this earth realm, then we're operating outside of our identity. Think about it. Think about it. Authority. Number 4, authority. Leading from conviction, not permission. Internal permission to lead. Your permission to lead is internal. It's where God has given it to you. It is not asking man for permission to do what God has called you to do. I hope that's sinking in. And I'm really excited for those of you that will join in with the challenge. It's a 3-day challenge. I'm really excited that I'll be able to unveil this tool with you so that you can do a deep dive. And just, you may know who you are, but it never hurts to reassess. I do it all the time. It's called reflection. Lord, am I aligning myself to who you created me to be? Am I carrying out the purpose for which I was created? And I would definitely encourage you to do the same thing, because you've got to have that listening ear so that as you grow, you progress in what God has created you to do. All right. Here we go with participation again. All right. What most often keeps you from showing up as the person you know you are capable of becoming? What most often keeps you from showing up as the person you already know you are capable of more, but something is holding you back? I want you to put it in the chat. What do you feel holds you back from being the person that you know that you're capable of becoming? And I say becoming, but for me, it's more unveiling. Because when you start to dig into your identity, there's an unveiling that happens. There is an uncovering. The more you get to know your Father, the more you'll get to know you, and the more you'll be who He created you to be. If you be who you be, you will do what you do. He created you to be a being so that you could be a doer of what He created you for. Clarity is clarity is rarely the problem. It is identity alignment that is the problem, because you have not aligned yourself with the identity and the purpose for which God created you. And when you're not aligned, there will be confusion. So, yeah, you won't be clear, but the issue is your identity alignment. And then, when do you feel most alive? Think about that. What are you doing when you really feel like, you know what? This is cool. This is cool. I understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, because there's something within me that can feel it. When you're walking in your trueness of your identity, you can feel it. You can feel it. Seriously. Moments of life and energy often point toward purpose. Often it points toward your purpose. When you feel like, when you get gratification, that's the word I want. You get gratification out of what it is that you're doing. All right. Now I'm gonna touch on this one just a couple more times, because I really want you to understand about the challenge and what you will encounter within the challenge. All right. Because tonight is just beginning the journey. Tonight it's just an hour. I only have an hour with you, you know. So it's just kind of really to whet your appetite, but just and also to get your mindset to start thinking in terms of, I really, really, really need to tap into my identity. So here's what will happen during the challenge. On day one, you're going to discover. We're going to talk much deeper about your identity. All right. And you're going to have a guided assessment workbook. And then you're going to be able to preview a real personal map. All right. It's I promise you, what God has in store, it's amazing. It's amazing to me. And I'm just the tool that He's using to present it. Day two, we'll define how you lead, because it's an identity challenge. Okay. It'll translate the map that we deal with on day one into leadership language and boundaries and decisions that you can use for tomorrow. When I say tomorrow, it's for how you guide going forward. And then day three is deployment, okay, with clarity and confidence, that you'll be able to apply the work to relationships, to business, or to ministry from the context of who you are, who you name yourself to be. It's going to be phenomenal. It really is. Because like I said, I can only cover so much in this hour. Now, I shared that to ask you the next question. If you could gain complete clarity in just one area over the next 3 days, what would it be? Now, the next 3 days won't take place for another week and a half, but if you could gain clarity within 3 days over one area, just one area, what area would you choose? I want you to put that in the chat. Just zeroing into one, because I'm sure there's multiples. Like I know I still, as I grow in God, and I'm constantly growing in God, and I've been walking with the Lord 38 years next month since I surrendered my life to God. I'll be 70 in October. 38 years I've been walking with Him, and I'm still growing and I'm still learning. You don't stop. You don't stop. It just keeps going, because there's so much to Him and there's so much to learn. But if you could bring clarity to just one area over the next 3 days, what would it be? So let's talk about Your identity equity ROI, which is tonight, which is the title of tonight's little workshop. We invest in business, we invest in education, we invest in property, we invest in retirement. Why? Because we expect a return. Yet, the greatest return will always come from investing in the person making every one of those investments, and that is you. When you invest in you, there is a return on your investment. I still invest in mentorship. I still invest in coaches. I still invest in taking myself to different dimensions. I stopped dealing in limit and just to the next levels. I stopped dealing in levels. Lord, I want to be dimensional. I want you to take me from one dimension to the other because I want to leave this earth realm poured out with everything that you have given me to do. And I can't do that if I'm just limited to just levels. I need dimensions because that's the kind of God you are. And if I'm created in your image and in your likeness, and that's what you've called me to, and that's not just for me. That's not just for me. That's for you as well. God made you multi-dimensional. Even just in your being itself, you're multi-dimensional. So imagine if you were constructed to be multidimensional, then obviously there are dimensions that he has for you to ascend to. And it's always ascension. With God, there's ascension. He keeps calling you up higher. And how do you get higher? By going deeper. The deeper you get in him, the higher you can ascend into what he has called you to do. Depreciating. Most people never build themselves the way they build a portfolio. And you should be your greatest asset. You are that portfolio that you need to be building up. You need to see yourself as that. You need to see yourself worthy. Okay? So often we don't see ourselves worthy. We don't see ourselves worthy of pouring into ourselves. We don't see ourselves worthy of being better. We've gotten to that plateau of the status quo, and it is what it is, and this is as good as it's going to get. The devil is a lie, okay? No, God is always ascending, and he's always calling you higher. So no, where you are right now is not as good as it's going to get. Not even close. The word says your latter shall be greater than your former. When is your latter? Well, in a minute from now will be my latter because I'm progressing as time goes on. My former was a minute ago. My latter is the coming up minute. You got to understand progression is moment by moment. You keep, I'm not sure which side it's on, but you see a QR code up above my head on one of the sides because, yeah, I'm still in my slide, so I don't see me. But that QR code, if you scan it, it will take you to the page where you can sign up for the challenge. Now, before we close out tonight, I want you to make this declaration, and I want you to say it out loud. Say it out loud. Here we go. Here we go. So I am hoping that this has been beneficial to you. If you don't have the opportunity to scan the QR code, the URL, the website is lionesseffect.net. Lionesseffect.net, and it will take you to, you'll see my Dominion by Design magazine and what have you, but up at the top, you'll also see challenge. And click that link and join the challenge because I promise you, it will be a blessing. Wherever you were. So I thank him and I thank you once again for your time. And I pray that I will see you at the challenge. All right. All right. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening.